What's up, YouTube? Welcome to another series here. I've got the London system for you guys. This is an opening that's special to me. I think it's a big reason why I became a Grandmaster. I think I'm very good at the opening, and I've got some tips and tricks that I'm hoping to teach you guys along the way here as we start at 800 ELO and work our way up. I will only be able to include the games with the white pieces, of course, but I decided to run this series idea anyway, so if you see some jumps in rating, that's probably why. Enjoy the series. All right, D4. We got the white pieces. Alas, here's the London system. Let's see what our opponent's gonna play. The nice thing about the London system is really, unless your opponent's playing some wild, wacky stuff like E5 and G5, you'll get to play these two moves, yeah, pretty much no matter what. I think we'll save this, knight c3 move for a little bit later. I'll probably bring it out at some point, but for the moment, we'll stick with E3. London system, you really want to get this formation going pretty much as soon as possible. C3, and the other thing is, when you're playing against the G6 structure, your opponent often wants to play knight here and go take your bishop, really. So those are two things to keep in mind. I'm gonna go right away with a nice solid setup here. Okay, and let's go bishop G5. Castles. All right, so after bishop E2, I'm very curious now what my opponent's gonna do, because one of the best moves looks like bringing the knight back. Okay. Well, this doesn't look bad at all. Knight D2 or knight F3. These are the squares that my pieces are probably going to end up on no matter what. I'll start with knight F3. If your opponent really works hard to take your bishop, I mean, he deserves it. But in this case, my opponent's played knight here, knight here, knight here, knight here, and he still doesn't have my bishop. The guy's working hard, not smart. Bishop on F4, I mean, it's drawing a lot of attention. I have almost all my pieces developed. My opponent's castle hasn't moved a single center pawn. I'm about to trade off maybe the most aggressively placed piece. G5. It's all about this bishop for my opponent. I can feel the thirst. So if I play knight takes, my opponent's dream is fulfilled. So it's much better for me to capture this, because now I keep my bishop. And I can tell based on how my opponent's playing, if I keep this bishop, I might just win the game. That might be enough right there. Any tricks here? Any fatalities? Definitely looks like there could be some here. Bishop D3, this kind of stuff, but I think we can keep it controlled for now. I'm tempted, but we'll go nice and easy. How committed am I to keeping this bishop? It's really not that good the way Black's playing, but am I really trying to keep this bishop? I don't think so. I think we're fine trading it off. My opponent's working pretty hard for this. Takes and queen D5 looks pretty strong. Bishop H5 as well. So yeah, at this point, I think queen D5 or knight takes a pawn here is going to be pretty nasty. Which one is the question? Queen D5, then probably queen F6 gets played. Knight takes and queen D5 looks pretty sufficient, I would say. I'm gonna go with knight takes. Mostly because I think in this one, I have a chance of keeping my bishop, which might really tilt him. So much that he might just take it right now, just to say that he got it. Otherwise, he might not get a chance. I'm sorry, dude. Okay, bishop here is definitely a consideration, but I'm going to go with this check. And I'm hoping we'll be able to finagle a nice mate here. King f6. We're gonna continue bishop to h5, and we'll be threatening all sorts of stuff, but queen f7 is dangerously close to a checkmate. Okay, this one is dangerously close to a mate because it might actually be one. Bishop here, we gotta make sure. Bishop here, am I doing anything there? Bishop c4, it's so close. Could even start with bishop c4. Yeah, I think realistically taking on e5 is the simple and safe way to go. Usually I don't go those ways. I don't really play those moves too often. It's pretty reliable though. I think we'll take, if bishop here, this rook e6. So I'm not really too keen on that. Queen f3 is a very strong follow-up. Bishop here. The other nice thing about the move that I played is that, you know, once again he doesn't get to take that bishop that he's been after for a while. So that feels good. That just feels good. Check to hit the king. I don't think I really have too much after this because bishop c4, there's d5, so I'm probably going to check him this way. And now, without the move d5 happening, I think bishop c4 is... it's going to be strong eventually. Okay. Queen needs to move. Maybe just back here. Maybe let's go to h5. Long castle. Bishop d3. This guy is like... is putting the rest of the pieces in jail here. Like this. Castle. It's really only playing with 2 pieces, but you know, these pieces can make threats. Bishop d3. Gonna drop this. Maybe get queen h7. Is that worth it? I'm not really sure. Let's start with a check. Bishop d3. Next move. Rook g5 is a fork, but I mean, these bishops and queen are kind of all over the position at the moment. Even queen g5, I can take with the bishop on g6. Queen g5 is like a good try to trade the queens. Probably what you should do, but after bishop g6, it's really hard to imagine survival. This guy is defended, and I think I'll take this. This is another option, but I didn't really see a checkmate there. Here, at least I have bishop d6, and queen f6 will be pretty nasty. There's probably a pretty gross way to win, which is like, can I just promote my h-pawn? Like, does he have any moves? That's what I'm wondering. You can almost just do this. Should probably stop that one. That one looked a little annoying. But I really don't think that this can be dealt with. H-pawn wins, baby. Pushing the H-pawn, yes. It's the hero of the position. It's just really unfortunate. Every queenside piece, just non-existent in this game. GG. I mean, a relatively close game on time, but a relatively distant game on the board. the bishops and the whole position was just cooked since the beginning. So, I mean, one piece of advice I always have is, yeah, we can make a very quick h3, but I also wanted to play c3 to show you guys what happens, you know, if someone's really after your bishop. They can't just go and take it for nothing. Knight h5, bishop here, like, you know, if they're just going for your bishop like this, they're dropping their knight and then dropping their pawn there. So it's not really possible for them to grab it that early. Unless your knight is out, then knight h5 won't be possible. Or sorry, it won't be possible to take on h5. So if you play like this or something, you know, you could see how knight h5 maybe is playable. But the general rule is that, you know, if black is, you know, not castled, and especially if black doesn't have the move d6 played, you don't really need to play h3. But when d6 is there, it's a pretty good sign to play h3. This means you won't have the e5 square for your bishop like this. The only way to win this bishop as black is to play that, which it's not the nicest move. Even though you win this bishop, this kind of looks funny. So the most pure way for black to win your bishop is with d6, and then maybe knight h5. This one is maybe worth avoiding, but in my game, I played c3 because I knew my queen was there, so there's no way that h6 will get my bishop because this move isn't playable. And my next move is bishop e2, is going to force him to go back, and then I'll always have this square. So that's probably the only thing to really be cognizant of when people play this, is when they play d6, you got to get h3 in, save your bishop, give it a square to move to. But my opponent was very thirsty for my bishop this game, that was the only plan he had. It was like all in for this bishop. He ended up wasting a lot of moves with his knight, and he was so committed to the plan that, I mean, he didn't develop any pieces the entire game. So much so that, yeah, they pretty much haven't moved, and it's almost moved 20. Almost moved 20. e4. You know the intention. There are ways to play the London system with like other moves first, not e3, but I always recommend first two moves of the game be the d4 bishop f4 moves. Bishop f5 is, you know, black's version of playing the London as well. A lot of people play e3 here pretty quickly. I think it's a reflex move that when you play the London, your third move is almost always e3. It's not a great move here, to be honest with you, because then, you know, if you just play like this and he plays like this, you're not gonna have any advantage. So specifically when they do this, I always play c4, and the goal is as quickly as possible to attack the b7 pawn, or if they take, then try to get the center with e4. So see how it goes. I'll play knight c3 here, I think. Try to go e4. Okay, I think it's probably going to be e4. We're going to get a lot of tempi here. Knight here looks fine. I mean, d5 is also playable. Both moves look just fine. Uh-oh. I think my opponent is doing something odd here. It's still going to be playable for black, I think. Okay. There's sometimes the possibility for black to do some move there. I take the knight, and then e5 hits my bishop and the queen. Still good for white, but at least playable for my opponent. Here, I have a feeling things are going to get rough. Well, what to do now? It'd be nice not to trade queens, right? And actually find a way to mate here. Like, taking this is nice. It'd be nice to keep the queens on the board. I think that what is very likely is mate with bishop b5 takes c6 or bishop a6 rook d8. So I'm gonna play the odds here. We're gonna take. We're gonna get castled with a check. We can pre-move that. And after bishop takes c4, there's a mate no matter which way he goes, so he's really gonna have to play some good defensive move. I think he's really calculating now. You know, in a 5-minute game, it's recommended that you use your time to think before you're lost, and also before you, I guess, use your time when you don't have only one legal move. This is not a good investment here. Okay, you guys are immediately identifying this as rage stalling. Can you guys explain the concept to me? I didn't know we had so many 800s in chat. Like, you guys really know exactly. You guys are like, yeah, it's rage stalling. I've done that. I do that all the time. It's rage stalling. Like, you guys are really quick to identify that. Strong diagnosis from the chat. Very interesting concept, yes. Not used too often at the higher levels. This is going to give us time to go over the game. So I think you should start with c4 when you see the symmetrical, let's say, variation. If they take it, that's a whole different story. Usually you just immediately try to play for e4. If that gets prevented, let's say with knight f6, it's fine to just go e3 and take it back. But your knight's gonna get to f3, castle, you have an open file to work with pressure on c7. So it's usually a really nice game for white. Queen takes d4 after e4. I think Fisher said your knight's just gonna get trapped at the very least. Queen takes d4. I'm probably not gonna take here and let you take my bishop. Instead, after this, oh, I can't make moves. The game's still going, I forgot. And you know what? I learned something recently. Do you guys know that apparently if you take, like, you know, a minute and a half to think before move 10, chess.com times you out, game abandoned. You're not allowed to do that. My opponent has strategically made it to move 11, so now he can waste his entire time. Kind of genius. I think he's done this before. We're dealing with an expert here. We're dealing with someone who is a tried and tested rager. Give him more time. You guys want to sit here? You think I'm going to impart wisdom and you guys are gonna sub and the energy is gonna be high? If you want me to give this guy an hour and we just sit here and watch him do nothing? You think we're gonna have a bomb stream? Big high energy watch party for Med Prince? You guys are trolling me. Oof. Was Med Prince a good sport? Yes? You guys are only saying yes because you guys do this and you wouldn't want to get banned for doing this repeatedly. So you guys are being selfish by saying yes. You just want the precedent to be set that this is okay behavior because you do this all the time. I know what you guys are up to. You're trying to skew the results. Okay, I'll give him a thumbs up. There we go. Whoa! He had that ready to go. All right. We'll stick to, we'll stick to the script here. All right. I have a feeling I know what he's gonna do. Does anyone else have a feeling? I think he's, how do we say, telegraphing what he's up to. Now, I probably have a lot of options to immediately punish the move g5 here. But let's stick to real serious London stuff. We're not even gonna flinch when we see this. Just knight d2. Just knight d2. Usually the London setup is something like, pawn to c3, all this stuff. H3 because you want a square for your bishop to hide out in. Pawn on c3, and this is nice. We're gonna get a pretty standard opening here. In the end, it's gonna transpose. Okay, yeah. Here, I think you can go all the way back to h2. Even just bishop g3 would be fine, but let's just tuck it away. To h2. Castle. We've achieved the ideal London setup, which is like this. Let's just get castled for now. Probably e4 is going to be the move. a4 is another great move. a4 is a very common London move that you're going to want to keep in mind, especially when you have b5. It makes even more sense. But a4 is good even without b5. I'm going to play e4 though. My opponent is very far behind in development, so I think we can just open things up and punish. But yeah, tucking the bishop away is a really nice thing to do. This is probably annoying. Okay. I'm not sensing that my opponent has any kind of any sense of danger, basically. Rook to an open file. Can't be bad. Knight on that square would be chef's kiss. How can we do it? I mean, this one and knight d4 and knight there, but it's pretty convoluted. Plus bishop takes can happen, so we don't really want to play hope chess. I'll start with this move. Yeah, my opponent's position is pretty rough here. This is a, it's an idea. I wouldn't really call it a threat because bishop d5 can be played. Now I would call it a threat. Pretty much only one move here from my opponent, and it's got to be queen e8. Not a pretty move to play. Yeah, queen f7 is tough. Oh, I can't even. Oh, my goodness. The comments. My opponent is finding a very funny way to swear. I'm being called a mother sucker. Reminds me of, who's the guy? Is it Michael Blackson? Oh, you found... The guy hit me with the dialogue and found queen e8. Honestly, best move. Have you guys ever tried that? There's no way he doesn't get mated here, right? Wow. It's a really, really not a bad player. Well, this was too nice not to do. GG. Was my opponent a good sport? No way. Certainly not. This is I can't even show this horrific language. He's gonna do something to my wife. I can't even say what he said he was gonna do. But I tell you, it's gonna, well, you guys understand the position I'm in. I'm probably gonna have to disclose this. When I find the one some years from now down the line, I'm gonna have to let her know that Laurentiu Petrascu is waiting for her, and there's a few things she's gonna have to do first before she gets to me. I'm gonna have to be upfront and honest with her. Like, I think the London is already establishing itself as an annoying opening. Like, people hate losing to it. It just works well. It works well. Let's keep going. Surely we get the white pieces again. We're on a roll now. Yep. All right. Okay, we get one of the most classic versions. If we get this, I think you guys should know what to play based on our previous game. But instead we get e6. Well, e3 is almost always the third move. Not all the time. We've even seen an example where it isn't. But oh, this is nice. I get to introduce. Do we want to go like this or like this? But basically, what I like to do here is I like to let them take. I love to let them take. And I'll start with knight f3. Take me, go ahead. I want to take back with a pawn, and it helps me control the e5 square a little bit more. And they don't always take it. Let's go like this. Knight h5. So the reason that knight h5 here does not make as much sense as previous is because, well, first of all, there's a trade that can happen, and then the knight will just look silly there. The other thing is I can go here, which I probably will do, honestly. And if the bishop takes, the knight takes back. The knight's being hit. This looks like I'm gaining a lot of time. My knight wants to go to that square anyway. And if my opponent played f6 there to attack my bishop, then he would actually lose a piece. f6, bishop takes, and then g4 just wins the knight. So, yeah, my opponent's just gonna end up hanging the knight. Like, you can't leave that knight just over here for no reason. So knight here, put my bishop in the middle, and my opponent would have to waste time and just bring the knight back. And I mean, how likely is that? Let's find out. Good move. I think I'm gonna go queen h6. Takes, and maybe bring the knight to g5. h4, h5 is also a really strong idea. We're up a full piece, and we have a big attack here. Rip the knight. Well, it's been a successful London here. Okay, so f6 is kind of a nice way to get out of things, but if I play this or knight f3, f6 can always happen, or f5 rather. So I'm trying to think which one's better. Let's go with h4. Knight f3, f6. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go h5. Might lead to mate here. g5, queen takes h7 is pretty normal, and that is also a mate, so my opponent has to be quite careful here. I think this move is requisite. Nice. It is, I think, probably the only move. So, that's good. We can take on h7. Probably not a bad start. If I get to play this, probably game over. So I think this move might be in order. Yeah, rook lift is always a smart idea. Rook h3, definitely. I wanted to bring a piece that wasn't even in the attack to the game. Okay. Put the knight here. We can support the knight with f4 as well. Queen f6 looks like a pretty decent next move. He's stopped that. Thank you, Shipwom. Twisted Kicks, thanks for the 8 months. Cool Hand Keith, 11 months with Prime as well. It'll take a little bit to break through here. My opponent doesn't have too many moves. You should probably just start pushing some pawns over here on the other side of the board. I'm gonna make a bunch of really slow moves here. King b1, imagine. Imagine having the time to play this. We're up a piece, it looks like we're almost checkmating, but I don't see any like absolute breakthrough, so I'm just gonna do this. Opponent's playing well for a piece down. Yeah, you have to remember, like, once you blunder a piece, it's harder to blunder more pieces. Like, there's just less pieces on the board to blunder, so a lot of people do play a little bit better because, you know, the statistics are just in your favor at that point. There's just less stuff to blunder. So we can give credit. I definitely think opponent's playing well here, but within reason. Within reason. Let's double this way, and this is where we want to invade, I think. Like this. Like, one reason, if it takes you a little bit to... I like my knight here, so I'm actually going to play this move. One reason that you are not completely embarrassed when you look at your chess.com analysis. You guys ever done that? You finish a game, you go check it with the engine, game review, right? And it tells you your accuracy, like whatever it is. 30%, 40%, 60%. If you guys are blundering all your pieces, you'll have a very low accuracy, maybe 20%. And then once you've lost all your pieces and your similarly rated opponent has no idea how to checkmate you, and they're moving their queen around the board and you're just running your king, every king move that you make is the best move. You're getting credit for a very accurate king move. They try to checkmate you for 20 moves, you're getting 20 moves of like extremely accurate chess. You're getting credit. Your game reviews would look a lot worse if that wasn't the case. So I think we all just have to be thankful. We all have to be thankful our game reviews do not look a lot worse, because they should. They really should. We want to invade with the rooks here. One of these squares is going to be activated. That's why you should never resign. Get that accuracy up. I like my construction here. I'm not interested in pawn grabbing. I think this is solid. All I want to do is use the rooks, and I think we will break in the building. Here we go. I'm gonna leave my knight here. You can take this with the rook. I'm in the type of position that is not, like, none of my advantage is going anywhere. So yeah, well, this pawn is definitely smart to grab. I'll be able to take that pawn no matter what. And in fact, by not taking this, my opponent is struggling to find, legal moves, basically. Position is really tough. Here we go. GG. What happened in the opening? Knight blunder. So I'm a big fan of this. When they lock the bishop in, just allowing these double pawns like that. My opponent never took, went knight here, and as I was saying, if f6 was played, then you would just lose a knight. You've taken away your knight's return square on f6. And if you don't take this, well, then you're kind of sitting there wondering, like, why did I play knight h5 a little bit? Plus, sometimes when you take, it's even an idea to take with the pawn and cover the square the knight wants to return to. So sometimes I like just throwing this move in to see what my opponent's gonna do. Throws a lot of people off. This one is also a move though, bishop g5. But we're gonna be dealing with a lot of early knight h5s in this opening, so hopefully becomes relatively clear how to handle it over time. Oh, another game with the white pieces. All right. Knight c6. So, I classify this move as basically an inaccuracy already. I don't think it's very good. Bishop f5. So I'm really happy we're seeing this because, first of all, I'm about to play the move c4. When you see the bishop come out, it's usually your cue, the way I like to play the London, to play the move c4. Knight b4 looks very scary because it threatens knight c2. But in these particular positions, you're not usually worried about knight here because you can always check them. And they have nothing better than just bringing the knight back. Knight here. We're going to bring this knight out. Again, not worried about this. Now, once this move is played, knight here at least has some sting. There's no queen a4 that's going to save you because now the knight's defended by the bishop. So at least I have to respect knight b4 as a move. Still, if it happens, I've always got the ability to play rook to c1. But to keep it simple, we can always just play a3 and just kind of just really chill out. So either a3, queen b3, or rook c1. You'll notice most of my moves are queenside focused here. Let's play a real chill a3. Don't want to deal with any funny business. a6. Okay, fair enough. Him and I were similar. We're on the same page. It's fine by me. I definitely expect something like this. Yeah, bishop d6 certainly makes sense. And the thing is that with the knight on c6, the c file is always going to be nice place to operate. I really think that bishop g5 here is a move worth knowing. So I'm going to play it. This is probably what I would play if I saw this. Bishop takes is not bad at all. Queen takes and just getting developed. I think that's great. But I am going to play bishop g5, which is often how I like to play against knight c6 because I think it's all about this d-pawn, putting pressure here, and pinning the knight is an indirect way of pressuring the d-pawn. And I think we're already going to be winning some material here as a result. Is it a London if c4 is played? Yeah, it's a London as soon as you play bishop f4, so it doesn't really matter about what move you play after that. Queen e6 looks really likely to blunder a piece next. Here, there's all sorts of discovered attacks on my knight, which I don't really love, so I'll just go back. We've already done the deed. We won that pawn. It's a center pawn, very valuable. Yeah, bishop g3 would be a decent move as well, but in this position, when they play knight c6, I know they won't be able to play pawn c6 to support their d-pawn. So I find that d-pawn gets really weak, so I often like to play bishop g5 and take. And now you're gonna see me go for something pretty normal, which is trades. I'm up a pawn. Don't need to get too fancy here. Bishop g4. Well, we'll be hard pressed not to play this move. h3. Okay, well, I mentioned this fork earlier. I wasn't talking about bishop and knight, although it's kind of worked out that way anyway. We should be winning a piece here. The really unfortunate part for my opponent is like, if they try to take my knight here, they'll also lose their queen. So let's take the bishop pair. I think that's the more valuable thing to take of the two. Get castled. This is a move that's poised to just launch a very excited attack, but in this particular case, the bishop had it covered. Now I'm up a full rook. Again, you're not going to see me do anything too special here. I'm going for trades on trades on trades. Although there's queen b3 and queen takes pawn, which looks quite destructive, I'm going to keep things really simple. I'm up a rook. Why am I not trading queens? Of course. My opponent just resigns. That's how good trading queens is. We're against loser noob. Not even loser noob. Looser noob. We're going to see g6. d6. Okay, so first of all, after d6, I expect g6 because the bishop can no longer really, develop on that diagonal. So I'll start with e3. See what my opponent wants to do. Knight c6. Let's go h3. I'll permit the move e5 for now. I'm going to go with an early h3 here. Ready to tuck my bishop away. And if e5, I mean, there's maybe capturing on e5 to do, but I would also say bishop h2 is nice and easy as well. So let's stay away from this for now. I'm just going to bring my bishop back. Just want to get castled here. c3. Whoa. Whoa! That is a serious move. Almost looks like a mouselet. That's how good it is. g5. You have sufficiently surprised me. Consider me surprised. I'm gonna go with something solid. c3 is a move I know I'm gonna need to play no matter what. Maybe I want knight f3, but for now, since it looks like maybe g4 is coming, let's not go crazy. I'm thinking bishop d3 is the one. When I see g5 like this, and I have the option to trade off the light square bishops, I definitely will take that. Take that chance. Knight d2 in case we get checked, and maybe just castle. Ooh, some risque moves here from my opponent. Knight e2. So if knight f3, g4, are we trying to get a grip on that? Are we bothered by that or no? Because I kind of like the knight here, where maybe we can go to g3 and control some light squares. So we're gonna go to e2. But yeah, I think h3 and bishop back is just a tuck technique worth remembering. It's looking like long castle energy here. That's what I'm getting from the guy. I also look at this knight, and sure, knight d2 is not possible, but I also see a nice future on maybe the e3 square. So I'm gonna play knight a3 here. I'm liking the e3 square a lot. Yeah, no, I'm aware of that P-Mork, and these are definitely risque. Not risky, risque. Knight c2. Let's continue the knight maneuver as we are going for 900, and we're looking to do it with the game in the London system. That would be nice. Ooh. Okay, number one, offering me the bishop pair. I think that's a big mistake. Number two, offering me a target with a4. So I'm gonna take all the above. I'm gonna take your bishop pair. And then this, I think you're gonna regret immediately. I mean, the move b5 is just inviting all sorts of action on the queen side. Oh my goodness. No wonder this guy's name is Looser Noob. These are some very, very loose moves around the king that are being played. I'm gonna start with this one. Ooh, goodness. I think there could be a world of pain here for my good friend Loose Noob. Oh no. Oh no. Bishop takes. Well, the thing with bishop takes is the queen is pinned, so there's really only one recapture. And then with the rook coming down to a8 and the queen joining, I don't know. Let's have a look-see here. Are we Chad enough to play this move? Probably not. Probably not. I think rook takes d8, nice and simple, because our king's gonna have to go for a jog here, and that doesn't look very nice. King d2. Knight e4, king e3, no more checks. You know, funny enough, after queen takes d8, you know, there might be whatever move. Bishop d6 can also get played in some lines, and I don't exactly have a mate. I don't exactly have a check there either. Guys, this is an important game. We're trying to hit 900 here. If this was any other game, we'd take a risk, but I just can't, with everything on the line that we've worked for, I can't put it up to chance like that. Check. Well, that's friendly. And obviously, instead of this move, we have to achieve the exact same thing from a distance. Queen a1. GG to Looser Noob. And it's great to have a nice little prime train there. We hit 900. We can take a little KO for that. Just like a small 900 sized KO. Learning the London here. As you can imagine, only get the white pieces every so often. Not even 50% of the time, as today will show. But when we're getting the white pieces, we're focusing on how to handle different openings from black. We've actually seen a pretty wide variety. Put it all together, and I think, yeah, over the course of many hundreds of rating points, I think we'll basically get a good idea of how to handle just about everything that our opponents throw at us. Thank you for making it to the end of today's episode of the London System series. If you enjoyed it, leave a comment below and like the video. And don't forget to subscribe right there and turn post notifications on so you never miss the next video. Speaking of next video, if you want more of the London System series, click right there.